The Pittsburgh Steelers had a disappointing year in 2012, missing the playoffs for only the second time in Mike Tomlin's 6 seasons as head coach. They started off all right, 6-3, but lost 5 of their final 7 games. Like many NFL teams, they dealt with injury problems both on the defensive side of the ball, with stalwarts like Troy Polamalu and James Harrison missing significant time, and on offense. Ben Roethlisberger missed 3 games and was banged up for much of the year. They were racked with injuries at the running back position. But as I said, many NFL teams deal with that type of thing. Unfortunately, the Steelers were not able to overcome it in 2012. Now, moving forward, when looking at this team, the easy thing is to say they need to get younger on the defensive side of the ball. And no question about it, the guys they've relied on for a long time on that side of the ball are aging. James Harrison is in his mid-30s. Same goes for Troy Polamalu, Ryan Clark, Brett Kiesel, among others. Now, the Steelers announced a couple days ago they have released James Harrison, so they're already moving on from one of those guys. But do they really want to move on from the rest of these guys? Really, the defense is not the problem in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh ranked number 1 in the NFL in total defense last year, meaning yards per game allowed. They were number 1 against the pass, number 2 against the run. You can't ask for much more than that. I know these guys are getting older, but do you really want to downgrade at some of these positions? Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu, for example, and these guys are healthy. They're as good of a safety tandem as there is in the NFL. I think the Steelers are going to hang on for another year with most of these guys. As we said, they've already moved on from Harrison. Salary cap situation had a lot to do with that. And I don't blame them because, as we said, the defense strong in Pittsburgh, borderline dominant at times last year. The offense was a different story. Todd Haley's first year as offensive coordinator. Now, there was a lot of press about that. It was thought that maybe he and Ben Roethlisberger might clash. Roethlisberger, after all, was a little puzzled by the firing of former coordinator Bruce Arians. For the record, I was also a little puzzled about Bruce Arians' firing. But many people thought when Haley came in, they were going to try to return to so-called, good old-fashioned Steeler football, try to run the ball a little more. They had become a pass-oriented offense under Arians. The numbers just didn't bear that out in 2012. Now, I will say, as I mentioned earlier, they were hit hard with injuries at the running back position. But, the Steelers, they were 26th in rushing offense, 21st in total offense. They were a top half of the league passing offense still, and probably would even been a little better than that statistically had Ben Roethlisberger not missed those 3 games with injury. But, it was a clear step back for the Pittsburgh offense. And while Haley's going to be around next season, they're losing Mike Wallace, who's their best wide receiver, was their leading wide receiver last year. He's a free agent. They're not going to re-sign him. There's talk that he might end up in Miami. And though I'm sure they'll replace Wallace with somebody, maybe in the draft, they won't be able to do much in free agency because they have no cap space. The Steelers are actually about $10 million over the cap before they made a couple of moves like releasing James Harrison. They picked 17th in the first round of the draft, so I think wide receiver is a likely position they're going to look at in the draft this year. But they're not going to be able to draft anybody to match Wallace's production. And even though they've got a couple other good guys, at the wide receiver position, guys like Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders. It was announced today they plan on bringing back Plaxico Burress. Without Mike Wallace, that offense is definitely missing something. Rashard Mendenhall, their starting running back for the last few years, who has missed a lot of time with injury. He is a free agent. He's not expected back in Pittsburgh either. So there's going to be some new personnel. I'm sure Ben Roethlisberger would like improvement on the offensive line. I'm sure he'd like the same type of freedom to throw the ball downfield that he had under Arians. Not sure if he's going to get it under Todd Haley. Not sure I love the direction the Pittsburgh offense is heading in. But all in all, the Steelers with a great coach in Mike Tomlin, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Ben Roethlisberger, and a defense that finished number 1 in the league in total defense last year. A lot of teams would like to be in a situation like that.